Welcome to the Rugby League Outsiders set of 6, our weekly news show where we share the good, the great and the noteworthy of Rugby League outside the heartlands. My name's Craig.
And my name's Karl, and on this week's show we're going to be looking at the NRL signings that are coming into play for Castleford Tigers. I played a game of 7-4-5 Rugby League, so we're going to discuss that. And why hasn't Kevin Sinfield been knighted?
Happy New Year, Karl. Welcome
New Year,
to
yeah.
2025. Any New Year's resolutions on the card for you?
Oh, do you know what? Just make a success of the Rugby League Outsiders show. How's that sound?
It sounds good, but what if you could say, right, this is a success, what does it look like?
Me being able to record every week and my missus don't get pissed off at me.
What's the chances of that happening? And so you had a little bit of run out just after Christmas on Boxing Day. You had a little bit of a run out there, and you got involved in a charity game, Karl. Talk us through it.
Well, yeah, I played a game of 7-4-5 rugby. I got invited by Staffordshire Quantums, who are a rugby league club in the Midlands, who also operate out of a rugby union club, Rugeley Rugby Club. I got asked to come along and play a bit of rugby.
An invitational.
Well, I think actually, if we're being honest, I invited myself.
Yeah. What's the opposite of an invitational? I don't know.
Well, no, to be fair, they put a post out online basically saying if anybody wants to come along and have a run out. And I was like, well, I've got to run the Christmas dinner off, which is always that uncomfortable day, innit, after Christmas.
God,
and then it was my birthday the day after. I thought, well, what better way to just have a bit of a run out. I haven't played for 12 months, so lace the boots back up, back out of retirement. Yeah,
green boots or white boots? Or what do you have?
Illuminous yellow, mate.
Yellow. Right, okay.
Obviously, make you run faster, don't they?
All right.
That's why you wore green boots, in it, or yellow boots, or what?
No, they're in the bargain bin at Sports Direct. That's why I got coloured boots.
Right. Okay. Anyway, there is a reason why I decided I wanted to speak about this. So, 7-4-5 game. The idea was come up by Rob Burrow, number 7 for Rob Burrow, number 4 for Ed Slater, rugby union player who I think created the game with him, and number 5 Doddy Weir. That's why it's called the 7-4-5 game. I didn't actually know that. I had to do a bit of research. I know they played a charity MND game at Headingley earlier on in the year, so I just thought it was a good place to have a bit of a discussion and see if there's any legs in a game like this. So,
what is the reason for it? What's like the goal of a 7-4-5 game? Like, if it's like an underlying, this is why we've done it. What is it?
Well, I think they created it because I think the MND cause has kind of brought rugby league and rugby union together.
It's bridged the two, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So I think that they wanted to create a game that both league players and union players could play. There was a bit of a spectacle that fans from both codes could get involved in. I think that's the reason that they sort of put it together. So it's kind of hybrid rules. It's like, I'd say it leans more towards rugby league, but you've certainly got elements of rugby union in it as well.
Well, it would do, wouldn't it? Because rugby league's a better game.
Mate, I've just spoke about try to bridge the gap, right? And you've just jumped in with a fucking comment like that.
Okay, I apologise to any rugby unionites that's watching this podcast.
We're getting abuse on comments again. Right, the rules. I'll go through the rules as you interrupted me. 13 aside. Unlimited play the balls in your own half.
Yeah. And
then you have 6 tackles once you cross the halfway line. Right. 5 points for a try. That messes with my head. Couldn't get around that.
Right. Yeah, right, okay.
Still 2 points for a goal. So
a conversion.
The scrums and line-outs.
Right.
But the both actually...
uncontested.
Uncontested, yeah. So kind of didn't get the point of the line-outs.
But you've got to give the Unionites something, haven't you? Right. So, okay, I won't be so facetious.
You can rip the ball.
Right.
During play at any point, which...
perfect for Walker.
Definitely a rule that leans towards rugby union. And the defence only has to go 5 metres back.
Perfect for Walker.
Why is that perfect for me?
Is there no reason? Carry
it's
on.
Like you're suggesting that I'm unfit or something.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, hang on. Right, so that's the rules. If I'm going to review it, the first 10 minutes of the game, it was an absolute fucking shambles, right?
Right.
The union lads didn't know what they're doing. The league lads couldn't get used to only going 5 metres back. The markers were a mess, and no one could get used to playing unlimited tackles in their own half. That was just weird. After 10 minutes, it settled down and people started getting used to the rules. And do you know what? I actually thought it was a pretty enjoyable game.
Did you?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of aspects there that seems to be like could be exploited. So what became like the trend for those unlimited tackles in your first half? Was it just like up your jumper, just keep smashing, Union-esque?
This is the bit. So we started off, and because I was on the predominantly the side with the league lads, you were doing 2 or 3 drives, and then that were it. Then we were using the width for getting the ball out wide, wanting to hit the gaps out wide in between the centres and things like that. And then we quickly realised, actually, we don't need to be doing all this flashy stuff so early on, because you can stick it up your jumper and just keep grinding it out and make the defence work, which is... You don't have to do that in League D. You've usually only got 6 tackles unless you get a repeat set or anything like that. But you don't even have to start thinking about shift plays or anything like that until you've got over the halfway line. And I tell you what, it's tiring in defence. That was the thing I took from it. Like I say, by the time we got into a rhythm, both teams knew what they were doing. At first, I was like, you've only got to go back 5 metres to defend.
Bonus.
This is easy. Like that first thing, like rugby league players, you used to tackle done, sprinting back at you, get back onside as quick as you can. When you've only got 5 metres to go, it's like, okay, this is decent. I can do this all day long. But when it's a 20 tackle set,
and they've picked a channel and you're in that channel,
it's a different ball game altogether. So I found myself in a second marker quite a lot, and I was like, I'm like on my 8th or 9th tackle in a set of 6 now, and it does get really tiring. So.
But that's even worse because you have been known to play in like a dinner jacket sometimes, haven't you?
Get out. I was the dirtiest player on the field, mate.
I'm not talking about punching, Karl.
I think it bridges a gap really well, does this game, between rugby league and rugby union. I went in there thinking it's going to be a bit of a shambles, just a bit of a laugh. But I actually finished the game, and my genuine opinion of it was, it's pretty decent, this. And if you're a rugby union player that wants to dabble in rugby league and wants a bit of an introduction into rugby league, I think this is a really good way to go about it. And I would actually encourage rugby union clubs in the area thinking of maybe having a rugby league club or playing a few rugby league games in the summer. Actually try this version of the sport, because I think it bridges the gap really well. I think it's been well thought out.
See, I think what I took from that, I've got a question for you in a minute as well as this, but I sort of thought, well, it's really good if you've got a rugby league team who's playing second fiddle at a club, a rugby union club, to try and get them. But then I thought, well, why would a union club put that game on? Because they're risking more union players starting to play a league. And I'm not sure they kind of understand the benefit of it. And there's still these... dinosaurs in rugby union clubs that don't want their players to play a league. We see it all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't play, lads. Sorry, because we've got this, we've got rugby union pre-season. It's like the most important part of the rugby league calendar, the back end of the season, and union players are starting to drift back. So, I'm interested to sort of see how that goes. Usually, I've always been, in the last couple of seasons, been very forward-thinking and backed their league team, I think because a lot of the committee play in the league team, but, they're very good at it, and I don't know if other teams would. Can I just, one other question, though, Karl? Having played with those rugby union players, you've also got a bit of a feel for them before the game. What do you take from them now? Like, have you got, like, a renewed respect or a renewed understanding? Like, what did you take from playing with those union players in a game where it's almost common ground?
Well, I have played union before, so it's a bit hard to answer that question. Like, they are different sports, completely different sports. The lads were great. Generally, the club the game was played at was, I think they both respect either code. To be fair, it's not like what a lot of rugby union clubs are like. I suppose I'm not really answering your question, but I think obviously I'm giving you an opinion on this sport from a rugby league perspective.
Yeah.
But I know, speaking to some of the rugby league union lads, they did really take something from it. I'll give you an example. From the kickoffs are completely different in rugby union out to rugby league. A lot of time in union, the ball gets kicked 10 metres, 15 metres tops, and there's usually a challenge for the ball to knock it back to your own side.
Yeah.
In rugby league, obviously, the kick is predominantly kicked long.
Yeah.
I'd say 80%, maybe 90% of the time, your halfback catches the ball. You're within that 20 metre zone, aren't you, in front of the post. Usually a halfback catches the ball and lays it onto a second row or a prop forward who's usually stood behind you. So I said to some rugby union lads who were on my team, so they were standing at the front, I was like, no, stand behind me right on the back line. And straight away they thought that was like alien to them.
Yeah.
But then the kickoff came straight to me, straight in my hands. And I told him, I said, just run on my shoulder, tell me which side you're on, and I'll pop it up to you. So I caught the ball, popped it up to him. He came charging onto the line, and he came up to me after he went, that is awesome. He says, just run, having that big charge onto players. He's like, I fucking love it. And then same happened again. And like after the game, he came up to me, he was like, mate, them kickoffs are absolutely, I absolutely love it. So I do think the union lads took a lot from the game as well.
Yeah, it'd be interesting, if there is someone out there that's played a union, strictly union, not dabbled in league, has been involved in the game. Perhaps someone from the Quantums wants to come on and just sort of share their experience. I'd be really interested to hear that. What about the cause, Karl? It'd be probably worth mentioning the cause for the Quantums.
Yeah, so they did it to raise some money for MND. I think there was like some raffles and things after the game. I think the main reason the game was on, there's quite a good sense of community at that club, and it was just to get everybody together at Christmas, a way that they can involve both the union side and the league side, and have a bit of an ease up and a drink after the game. And yeah, it was great. It's really good.
Excellent. Okay, so to summarise, 745, is it a game for the future, or is it just a flash in the pan?
It's never going to take over either sport, obviously, but I think there's a reason that we can keep playing it. Yeah, I genuinely believe that, and I didn't have that opinion going into the game. I thought it was just a one-off flash in the pan. But yeah, I do think it has got potential.
Do you think there's potential for the 745 Outsiders podcast?
You never know.
You never know. I'm going to crack on then. So this week we're going to check in with our friendly NRL tipster. Some people say that the whole of Hogmanay in Edinburgh was cancelled because the sniper decided it should be cancelled and he wanted a private tour of Edinburgh Castle. All we know is he's called the Sniper.
Sniper, Happy New Year. It's great to have you back. Castleford Tigers are the team we're looking at. Who can you tell us that's coming in from the NRL for Castleford Tigers?
Well, they've got 4 great players. But how was your Christmas and New Year?
My Christmas was good. I did play a little bit of rugby, and I'm just itching. The season's only 5 weeks away now. That's my big focus now. Can't wait.
Right. Is this the posh section of the show, by the way? Or is the whole show posh?
No. This is definitely the posh section of the show because we never got called posh until you came on here, mate. Definitely not.
Right. We're so posh here at the Snipers Club, we've even got a butler. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Well, let me throw this out.
Her name's Mrs. Eccles. Mrs. Eccles.
I'll throw this out. I've got a living chef, a living trainer, and let's work it out. What we got now?
A gardener.
So 12 bedrooms. This is true. I remember I run residential retreats. And we used to run it from a manor house. And my son is like, he's like, you couldn't get any more like lower working class than my. And he used to go to school and be like, oh, what did you do this week? Oh, well, I was, I had to help out the chef. Oh. Well, you got a chef? Yeah, I got a chef, yeah. And why were you doing that? Well, the trainers were busy. They were like, well, where do you live? And he was like, I live in a manor house. No one at school believed him, right? He got a terrible time, but it was true.
So I'm the only one without a fucking butler or a housekeeper or anything then. Right, okay.
You don't deserve a butler.
Mrs. Eccles was... Yeah, Mrs. Eccles was originally Mr. Eccles, but she transitioned. She started wearing her sister's shoes, and then before you know it, she came downstairs one day, and it was Mrs. Eccles, not Mr. Eccles. So I had to get used to that. But enough about our domestic arrangements.
Yeah, this is almost becoming as interesting as the bit. Getting more information on the snipers.
As we track him down bit by bit.
Yep.
So into the first player then, who have you got for Castleford Tigers?
We've got Zach Cini, 24 years old. He's predominantly a centre. He's not one that we've had our eye on. We've seen him play a few times. He's not in our black book.
Yeah,
he's not great in defence. And we think he's predominantly a cover signing. So just a tiny snippet there. I think it's best to move on.
I'm just going to jump in on this guy. He has been given shirt number 3 for Cass, though. So they're clearly looking at him as a starting centre winger.
I think he's going to play at centre. I think he's much more likely to play at centre. He did have fairly big raps on him. A couple of the analysts in Australia really liked him. He hasn't really trained on. He's not as young. He's not that young anymore.
No.
So he hasn't impressed enough for me. He hasn't been in my notebook, and I just put a line through him.
Right.
So, I haven't got much to report on him, but the other players are very, very interesting.
Maybe
so I'd rather we spent more time on them.
Yep. Okay. So we'll move on to the next player then.
We'll move on to Jeremiah Simbiken. So he's going to be part of this PNG brigade in the Super League.
Yeah.
I think it was 10 the last time I counted, and we've got a few more that are coming in this season. Now, this guy we really, really like. Big, burly, strapping, powerful 2RF. He can play left or right. You'll have seen him play for the Cummels in the Pacific Championships.
Yeah.
He's a serious try threat. He's got a scoring rate of probably 1 in 2 or slightly better than that. He was born in PNG, but he moved to Canberra as a 10-year-old. And he almost gave up rugby league completely. He was working as an air conditioning technician. And then during COVID, he really struggled to find any club to take him on or to get a full-time contract. And he just thought, I'm going to quit this. I've had enough. And then he's come back bigger, stronger than ever. And I'm absolutely amazed that he wasn't signed by an NRL club. This guy has the potential to be a breakout 2RF for the season for Super League.
Yeah.
So we're super excited about seeing him. He did really well for the North Devils as well towards the end of the season. And they used him really well. They kept trying to get the ball to him, make a sort of crash play close to the line. He'd score. He's agile, strong. He's got all the things that you'd be looking for in a 2RF. So big on him.
I watched some of his highlights from last season. The guy's an absolute unit, isn't he? He's really fast. He seems to be able to punch through a gap really well. Runs good tight lines. But one thing that did interest me about him, second row, but on some of his highlights, he was playing on the wing as well. So I don't know if he started as a winger early on in his career, and he just got bigger and bigger, and they started playing him in the back row. But yeah, he looks like a great player, and I think Cass fans are going to be really excited to see him go next year.
For sure, yeah, really exciting. And the good thing with these two players, and I'm talking about Rimbu, who we'll come on to in a second, and Simbiken, is that for sure the market will underrate these players.
Yeah.
So guys, if you've got a black book, get your black books out, add these two names in there now, Simbiken, Rimbu, for sure. Because that's how you'll be making your money. Early in the season to mid-season, the bookies will cotton on to this by the time it gets to December or January, whenever.
Yeah.
You want to be backing these guys early, proper value, black book. And I'll tell you guys when these guys are black bookable. Yeah. So, yeah.
What you saying?
Love him.
Try scorers then, yeah?
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, it seems
I'm more excited about Rimbu. Yeah.
The Simbiken, I mean, it seemed like that area sort of just to the 10 metres to the right of the opposition's post just seemed to be the pocket where he'd target, and I think if Castleford can get him there, with the power and pace, the sheer size of the guy, and the belief that he can score in that area as well, he's just going to be devastating for Cass. So, yeah, exciting prospect.
Right, on to Rimbu then.
They've already got Sylvester Namo there, haven't they?
Yeah.
He's part of the PNG brigade. You want to move on to Rimbu now, or do you want to do Dejan RC?
Let's go on to Rimbu.
Hooker, 23 years old. He scored 16 tries in 23 games last season, and he's played for PNG at all levels. He's even captained them. He's really strong. He's a great weapon from dummy half. He's best known for his speed coming out of the ruck.
Yeah.
And he's very much in the Edwin Ipape mould. But we think he's got even higher upside than Ipape. This guy is the real deal.
Interestingly, Cass have given him the number 14 shirt. I think Liam Horn has been given the number 9 shirt. So, I mean, what's your opinion? Do you think he's going to be their starting hooker?
I think Rimbu will end up at hooker. They'd be mad not to start him at hooker. But I think what they'll do is bring him on for impact initially until he's fully match fit or settled at Castleford. But this guy is the real deal. We think he's better than Horn. So by 3-4 months in the season, he'll be the starting hooker. But it does make sense to bed him in slowly, make sure that he's comfortable with all the processes, all the combinations, make sure that everything's humming. Then you'll start to see him in the starting lineup. So yeah, seriously talented, agile, strong. He's not the tallest. If you were to relate him to someone in terms of size and stature, it would probably Justin Olam from, he was predominantly a Melbourne Storm superstar. So if you guys follow the NRL, you'll know who we're talking about. So super excited about Rimbu. He can play halfback, so he's not the tallest, but he's ripped, he's powerful, he's agile. He can play at halfback, but we definitely have him as starting hooker.
I think for me, Rimbu, if he can be anything like a Pape, then he's going to be so exciting for the Castleford crowd. And I can imagine now, like trying to tackle someone like this, just absolutely feels like granite and like breaks your shoulder. But and then on the same token, can just cut people in half as well. So, I'm really excited to see this guy play.
It looks like he likes broken play. So whenever there's a marker not quite square or anything like that, you get a quick play of the ball. He's one of them players that just looks really direct and just goes straight at the defence. I think he'll cause some problems for some Super League defences next year.
Did you see him in the Pacific Championships? Did you keep an eye out for him?
Yeah, I saw a couple of the games. I think it was the Cook Islands game. I think he absolutely ripped it up in that one. Yeah, he's got speed to burn for such a small guy.
He came off the bench and robbed a try from Roderick Ty. And I'm not that big on Roderick Ty. I think he's just a bit of a workhorse, But this guy is great. And it's worth keeping an eye on hookers like this against the weaker sides in the Super League. So you want to be taking them to score tries against really the bottom of the table, because this guy will mop up. So again, just like Simbiken, he'll be underrated by the market. You'll get great odds, great prices early in the season. Back him, don't wait.
Perfect.
And by the way, it's unbelievable that a team like Canberra didn't sign Judah Rimbu, because they're playing with Danny Levi at hooker.
Yeah.
And Danny Levi is so poor in so many departments. It's a massive oversight by many NRL clubs not to have signed Judah Rimbu. So Castleford have got an absolute gem there. He's my favourite of the 4, by the way.
Well, why do you think they've passed over? Passed him over, like just because we've talked about 2 PNG players there, and it's like, well, why are they getting ignored?
If I had to guess, I'd say there was a very prominent agent that has signed 10 players to Super League already.
Yeah,
and they're trying to make a bit of a gang out of them. Yeah, so. The other guys are enjoying themselves, doing really well. We've got a really good arrangement with Super League. Why don't you come over and check it out, see how you go, and then use that as a stepping stone to a full NRL career in 2 or 3 years' time.
Yeah.
The other issue that's going to happen at the moment is you've got, the PNG team starting up from 2028 onwards. Yeah. So how are these Super League teams going to be able to retain these PNG players when that actually starts? Is that going to be the next move for them? Is it going to be Super League to PNG Hunters or whatever name they decide to give that team? It could well be. So it's almost a breeding ground, Super League, for what's going to come and get those players ready for the NRL in 2028.
Yeah, I like it.
Shall we move on?
Yes.
So the last player, Dejan Arce.
Yeah.
Very exciting player, 24 years old. He's a Kiwi. He was born in Christchurch. And he's one of those players that feels like he's been around forever. He's predominantly a half, but he can play anywhere in the back line. He's creative. He's got an excellent kicking game. He can unlock defences, but he's not at that elite level yet. So if you think to yourselves, why have the Parrot Eels released him? It's because you've got two superstars playing in the halves already. You've got Mitch Moses and you've got Dylan Brown. So he's going to struggle to get into the team or get regular playing time as long as they're fit.
Yeah.
So he thought, it's time for me to make a move, get my career going. And, Super League was a logical move for him. He's been regularly targeted in defence by opposition teams, so he's not very good in defence. I did have a look at some stats for you guys. So dug deep into the stats book. He played 14 times last season. He caused 9 tries and he made 11 errors in defence. So that's not great. You're looking at about, he's causing 0.8 tries per game or something. He scored 3 tries, made 5 try assists, and had 4 line breaks.
Yeah.
So again, this was with the Para Eels team that was struggling. But he's a good player in attack.
Those stats aren't great, but I've watched his highlight reel, and I think this guy looks electric.
Yeah.
If I was a Cas fan, I'm excited to watch this guy come over next year. They've given him number 6 shirt, so they're clearly looking at him as the first choice standoff. Him paired with Rowan Milnes, who's quite a steady Eddie player, he's quite a decent organiser. Paired with this guy who's the complete opposite of him, he looks like he's a bit of a strike force. I'd be excited to watch this next year, and I think Cas could have picked up a bit of a gem here.
The good thing is he's young, and he does have X factor. That X factor hasn't been unlocked yet.
Yeah.
In the NRL.
No.
So if they can unlock that, he could be a really, really good star, a really good player for Castleford, and he could be that missing link that they need to really get the tries flowing. So, yeah, he's exciting. It's just a question of how he beds in and how he fits in within their system, and whether the coaches and the head coach can find those little 1 and 2 percenters that can allow him to express himself, because he's a really good ball player. And I think he's really good, but he needs to work on his defense. He's going to be targeted.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 areas. Unlock the creativity, let him be a maverick, but at the same time, work on your defense. Those are the 2 most important things I'd say for Dejan Arce.
Right.
Well, and it's, obviously the compounding effect of being having like a weakness within defence is the fact that you can bring around penalties, give away penalties, and that really, you do 2 or 3 of them on the trot and you can literally just give games to the opposition, can't you? So I think Cas, they're forced to recruit like this. I think if they were further up the table now, they could go, do you know what I mean? We'll perhaps pick someone who's a consistent performer that doesn't give away many errors. They've had to go like, right, let's get someone who's potentially got the X factor. Let's try and unlock that with Danny Maguire as a coach, and maybe we'll pick up some penalties, but perhaps we can get that out of his game. Is that all or nothing, if you like?
Yeah, I think it is all or nothing for Cas with these signings. I think that if they have really picked up some decent finds that, gone under the radar a little bit, we could see Cas do pretty well next year. I mean, let's face it, they didn't have a great season last year. I mean, bookies have got them to finish second from bottom at 66-1. But I'm excited to watch to see what comes of this Cas team next year.
Yeah.
Guys, these are diamonds in the rough.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. We are NRL insiders. We know what we're talking about. We watch every league. We watch the Queensland Cup, the Host Plus Cup, all of that stuff. I'd say 80% of NRL enthusiasts wouldn't know these players. I can tell you personally, these are diamonds in the rough. The recruitment has been excellent. Yeah. And we've gone through a lot of teams so far. And if I was going to be recruiting, this is the exact profile of player that I'd be recruiting.
Yeah.
They're the right age. They're going to be hungry. The talent's there. That's exactly what you need. Now, a question of whether they can settle or not in England is another story. Because, the climate's very different. But they do have the makings of 3 excellent players at least out of those 4. So, and the PNG guys have got their mates there as well. So it'll be much easier for them to settle. So I love this. Whoever's done the recruitment at CAS has done a wonderful job. Super exciting, underrated by the market. And yeah, it's going to be really, really good to watch the next season.
It's going to be really good to see Rimbu and Simbiken stood on the pitch in February, when the league kicks off, and they're like, what the fuck have we done? We could, absolutely torrential rain and wind. Very exciting, really good. Okay, so with those incredible signings from the NRL, as listed by the sniper there, Karl, you've also taken this opportunity to pick out a few players that people think, or that you think that people should be keeping an eye on. Ones to watch for Castleford Tigers in 2025.
Yeah, so I picked 5 players out, just people to watch next year. Some of these have been around the league for quite a few years. Tex Hoy at fullback, thought he had a good season last year in a team that wasn't really doing that well. I think with a bit of more platform this year, if they sort the halfback pairing out this year, I think they'll unlock him, and I'm looking forward to watching him play.
Well, I think they will, because they've got Danny Maguire, you've got a halfback head coach now, you know what I mean? And we've seen other halfbacks.
Yeah, Scott Morrell as well in the background.
So, they're not going to build a team, come on, speak. Yeah. They're going to build a team around like a big forward pack, like say Lee Radford would or something like that. This is going to be attractive play, mega supporting play, Danny Maguire-esque. So they're lining up Tex Hoy for a great season.
Yeah, if he links up well with Assi, could be dynamite next year. It could be like watching the Castleford of old, when we had like Rangi Chase ripping it up. Anyway, Gary on the wing, he's been given the number 2 shirt this year. Yeah. So I think he was like on the fringes last year, but he had such a great season, didn't he? They brought him in. He's going to clearly be the starting winger this year. And then a bit of a number 18, Josh Hodgson, player from the West Midlands that we've spoke about before, didn't really get much of a chance last year, which surprised me actually, because Craig Lingard brought him over from Batley, and I thought he was going to get a lot of game time last year. Didn't really happen. He's a prolific try scorer, so I think he's the one to watch next year for Castleford Tigers. If he gets some decent game time, could be interested to see what he does. So they're giving him number 18 shirt, so he's clearly on the fringes of that starting lineup now. Rowan Mills, I think he's going to pair really well with Assi. I think they've got the balance right there between the two players, which is often as important just as having a decent player, isn't it? You half-back pairing, I think you've always got to have a...
Oh, if the chemistry's wrong, you don't stand a chance.
No.
Because they'll hug the ball, they'll be selfish instead of being unselfish, So yeah, definitely the chemistry's got to be right.
And I think Danny Maguire might have got that right. And then number 13, Joe Westerman. He had an awful start to last season, which we don't want to go into. But as the year kept going, he was one player who just kept grinding it out. And I think, besides the players we spoke about, Cass have brought in quite a few youngsters. So I think an experienced head like him, he's been around the block plenty of times, literally.
Terrible.
I think he's a experienced player that's going to help Cass next year. So they're the 5 to watch that I've pulled out.
Brilliant. Okay, and that's a regular feature that we're going to bring into our show as well. When we're doing these NRL best signings and all that kind of thing, we will give you players that we think you should watch as well. So stick with us for that. That rugby league means nothing unless you've got fans. We wanted to dabble into the crowds a little bit, Karl. You pulled out this story. You've ranked these attendances, the largest attendance ever. So fill us in.
Well, I know it was an article I picked up on loverugbyleague.com a few weeks ago, and I've been digesting it. I thought it's something worth sort of speaking about, really. So they picked out the highest crowd of every season that we've had since Super League's been going. We've had 29 seasons, so I'm going to give it a little bit of trivia here. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. So, which do you think, on average, which game do you think's had the biggest crowd out of the most seasons?
What, as in?
Which two teams?
So straight away I'm thinking about like the derbies.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so I'm thinking about the derbies.
Fairly obvious one this is. Well, I would have thought.
No, because we're always split on the Hull derby, the Wigan Saints derby. You know what I mean? Is like I don't. Perhaps Leeds Bradford of old. So there's a couple of potential answers there. I'm going to go Hull Derby because I mean the start of last season, 2024 season, that Hull Derby was huge, wasn't it? A massive crowd, sell out, So yeah, what's the answer?
You're miles off, mate.
Go on.
No, it's Wigan v Saints as.
I went miles off. It was my second choice.
Well, no, because you even said Bradford Leeds at one point, so he could have been third.
Right.
No,
okay.
Wigan v Saints has had 16 out of the 29 seasons. Has had 16 of their highest crowds in that season.
Well, that proves. So that is the biggest derby then.
Well, it's often been debated, hasn't it? Which is the biggest derby in Super League? So. Yeah, I suppose if you're going on crowd figures, that is the answer, isn't it? So, 96 was the first Super League season, and the
96,000.
No, 1996. You bloody idiot. 20,400 at the first Wigan Saints derby in Super League. Right, it was then dominated by Bradford and Leeds. So
right, you made me look stupid. Actually,
right.
Actually, I'm doing all right.
Shut up a minute. So, Bulls Leeds was 97, 98, 99, 2000. There was a massive crowd in 1999, 24,000. I remember it. I was there. So that at the time that held the record for the largest crowd in Super League for a number of years.
By the way, whilst talking about Leeds and Bradford, when was the last time you put something in your boot?
Oh, yeah, you're out on the back of my car.
No, it wasn't me.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't me.
Of course it was.
It wasn't.
Was it then?
Well, you have to find out, but it weren't me.
It was 100% you. Yeah, I pulled on a driveway over there and it said something like, what had you written on it?
I haven't written anything.
You did. You wrote like Leeds Rhinos.
Go on, say it and I'll clip it.
Oh, somewhere. I don't know what you put. Anyway, that crowd got beaten in 2005. There was 25,000 at a Wigan Saints game, and then other notable games: Hull FC v Hull KR in 2008, 21,000. 2009 there were 22,000 there. But here's the question I'm posing to you. This is like question time. This bit, right?
Okay. Right.
What is the biggest ever? By the way, this don't include Magic Weekend. It doesn't include playoffs. It's regular season games. What is the biggest Super League attendance of all time, and who's it played by?
I've got in my head like a 30,000 game. I've got that in my head.
You've done well there. That's a good start.
And I would say, I was having to guess that it'd be the Wigan Saints derby again. I've got it. For some reason, I've got like 30,000 in my head. So,
right,
that's my answer.
The record crowd in Super League is held by Catalan Dragons.
No way.
Yeah, 31,555, and it was when they played Wigan at the new camp.
Really?
Yeah, it's the biggest Super League attendance. So who says that rugby league doesn't belong in France?
Yeah,
load of rubbish.
Well, I mean, the other thing as well is like, why are we not replicating that again? Do you know what I mean? Why can't we get into the new camp again and replicate that game? I mean, what was special about it? Just like an expansion game, was it?
No, it was just. I don't know. Was their stadium unavailable for a moment in time?
No,
I remember it happening. They
happening.
They just took it on the road.
That's what I'm saying. It was like an expansion. Yeah, expansion-esque game. Let's take it to new camp, but and it seems to have worked. Maybe it's because there were just easier routes in. Because I think there's easier routes to new camp in than there is freaking Perpignan. It's like a 10-day camel ride to get there. So.
Yeah, there's not an airport bloody close. Right, another team that only features in here once.
Right.
This is another bit of, we'll play the trivia game.
Okay.
Castleford Tigers are in here.
Yeah.
Any idea?
Do you think that's a stadium thing though? Because the capacity of their stadium's wasn't great, was it? Well, mind you, there's loads of standing places, weren't they? So
I suppose there's a talking point coming up here because in 2018, Leeds v Castleford took place at Ellen Road. Why did it take place at Ellen Road? I can't remember that reason.
No idea.
23,000 there. So that was the highest attendance that Cass has been involved in.
Was Headingley getting...
it might have been maybe Headingley.
What year was it?
2018.
Don't know.
Maybe. But the point is two of the biggest Super League attendances ever there are not actually at the club's home ground. You've got the Leeds game at Ellen Road, with 23,000 there. And
Do you think this is an I mean, I'm trying to just sort of think around that. Like, you've got to be careful, like cause and effect, haven't you? You know, was the other stuff going on and it was just like correlation rather than causation? So, you know, or are we saying that it's just the fact that it was a different venue and people want to go and experience it? A little bit like the Vegas.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's just something different.
Yeah,
you know,
I'd say
mix it up.
I'd say there's...
Or do people want structure? They want their
I think
regular thing.
Yeah, I think structure's good, but I'm of the opinion is that you should take a game on the road every year anyway. Well, look what it's done for NFL.
Well, I mean, how did it work for the Hurricanes when they went to Derby, played in Derby?
That was their biggest attendance of it was their big at the time. I don't know what it is now. At the time, that was their biggest ever attendance when they took the game to Derby.
But you could say that it was closer for those northern players' families, perhaps the opposition.
Yeah, possibly
to travel as well. So,
but I know it also did pull in new fans from Derby as well. That was a fact. We knew that happened. So there's definitely a case to answer to take one of your home games a season to a different venue.
Yeah. Look, if anybody has done that, involved in a club, and you do that regularly, you know, more than just like an end of season tour or whatever, and you've had success from it, let us know, because perhaps it's something that other teams can replicate. Next story, we're going to dig into some odds that have been released by the bookies on who's favourite to win the grand final. And some of these odds are quite interesting. So, Karl, you want to dive into those?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to give our Super League predictions in a couple of weeks' time, aren't we? Once we've gone through every sort of team. But it's interesting to see who the bookies are tipping. Well, some of it's interesting, some of it's exactly as you'd expect. So Wigan 11-8 favourites to lift the title again. You can't argue with that at all. Saints.
Well, there's certainly nothing changed in the Wigan camp that would make you think they're onto a shitter this year.
no. But apart from the going to Vegas and the just spotlights getting bigger and bigger every year on Wigan Warriors at the minute.
And the other thing as well, every bit of news, real news, not the fake Wigan news that keeps popping up every week.
What is that?
The real news is that all the big players from Bevan French to Brad O'Neill are happy and they're staying put and they're not moving anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So nothing's changing. Like, you know, they're pretty cemented in.
Chris Radlinski's nailing them all down with 6-year contracts. So we could be doing this this section of the show for the next 6 years.
We'll just
Wigan are favourites again. Wigan are favourites again. St Helens are 5-1 and Warrington are 5-1 second favourites. Any surprises there?
Yeah, massive surprise.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the Saints won.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, we talked a couple of weeks ago with the sniper and we sort of saying, you know, what's going to happen with Saints season? It all, you know, revolves around Wellens and how well he can, you know, get a grip of that team. And maybe they just have a bit of a blip in the 2024 season and they've got in the habit of losing. They've had a mega pre-season, but I don't know. I mean, they've had a couple of half-decent signings, haven't they? You know,
they've brought in some decent players,
but I don't think.
But I don't know if there's been enough to catapult them from where they were at last year. I mean, they did have a lot of injuries though. They did have a lot of injuries. Saints did last year.
You know, in a call on here, Rugby League history, a massive Saints fan, he can fill us in on this.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, like, you know, what has happened at the Saints club that's put them into like joint second favourites with Warrington, who are riding high, aren't they?
I mean, the bookies will always look at
the trends.
Yeah, the trends and everything else. Hull KR a third at 6-1. Pretty good money, that, isn't it? Hull KR 6-1. I'd say I think
it's really good money.
They're going to be up there next year. They've strengthened the side. They had a quality season last year. Leeds 10-1. The bookies think Leeds are going to be back in contention next year and with a chance of winning the grand final.
And that's I don't think it's necessarily the recruitment. I think that's the head of the snake. I think it's Brad Arthur cracking the whip. There's footage come out of the Leeds camp this week of him just taking zero shies and right, and it just, you know. And I think this. I'm praying this is going to be the making of Leeds again. I'm hoping, you know. When you look at the signing, they've not spent particularly big. No, I don't think. And I think they pumped that into the coach, retaining the coach.
Sevo and Palacia, the two players from the NRL. One, you could argue, he's definitely a quality player. We spoke about him before. The other, he's a bit of an unknown. Ryan Hall's come back. They're going to settle the camp a bit.
Jake O'Connor smashed it up.
Jake O'Connor had the Weatherby Whaler. The Weatherby Whaler, yeah. He had a cracking pre-season friendly, didn't it, by all accounts? So yeah, it's I think it's all like you said. I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's all on Brad Arthur. I think it's a changing coach. Catalan 12-1.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I didn't read as much into this as the Sniper did. The Sniper really
because of who they brought in from the NRL, plus they've added Makinson in there.
Yeah, they've really rated him, haven't they?
Yeah, so yeah, he seems to think he's one that you should be putting the team you should be putting your money on. The others are pretty much kind of what I would have expected. You got Lee Leopards at 20-1, Huddersfield at 50-1, Hull FC at 50-1. So they don't think Hull FC are going to do much more. I mean. Yeah. If you look at who they've signed a lot of players from Lee, haven't they? It's probably not really...
Lee FC.
Lee FC, yeah. Probably have a better season, but you can't see them lifting the grand final. Salford have had a massive drop in odds. They're now 50-1. Yeah. I said weeks ago that I don't think Salford would have a great season, and somebody said I was talking shit. I mean, they were 33-1 earlier in the year, but with the financial troubles, I think a lot of people are expecting their side to get stripped of players, so they're right down there. And then you got Castleford and Wakefield at 66-1. I'm surprised at both of those odds at the bottom.
Why?
That suggests that those two are going to be the two worst sides in Super League. Now, if you look at Wakefield last year, they've got some quality players in that team, and they've strengthened. I can't see Wakefield finishing bottom of Super League next year. And I can't, if these players that we've been talking about for Castleford fire, which they may well do, I can't see Cass finishing second from bottom either.
I'm going to put you on a limb. So who's your bottom two teams then, as it stands?
Huddersfield and Hull FC.
Yeah, okay. Fine. All right. Okay, really, really interesting. So we've got Saints, Leeds perhaps back in favour. Warrington where we expected them to be. Hull KR, there and thereabouts. Wigan definitely top. What's your thoughts on that? Really interested to hear what you think about the odds there. Anything on that?
And who are people spending the money on? That's what we want to know.
Yeah. That Carlon bet is the one. Stick a tenner on there. Right, moving on then. I think some people would have had their money on Kevin Sinfield picking up another award in the New Year's honours list, but it's not happened, Karl. We wanted to dive into this story.
Yeah, I mean, this is the story that seems to
just bubbles away, doesn't it?
Every year, the list of posh people that have been knighted comes around every single year, and every year everyone says, "Why ain't Kevin Sinfield, Sir Kevin Sinfield?" Craig, you've got the answer for this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't take much digging around on the internet to work out that he's not actually eligible. I mean, he picked up an award in 2023, and you can't then be upgraded within a 3-year period. So, he's just not eligible for this, regardless if you think he's doing amazing stuff and we should scrap all the rules and all this kind of thing. He's just not eligible for it for at least another 2 years.
2014, he got his MBE.
Yeah.
2021, CBE, and 2021 he got an OBE, and 2024 he got a CBE. I mean, I don't know what each of them stand for, to be honest with you. But.
Yeah, so you got the member of the British Empire, you've got the officer of the British Empire, then you've got the commander of the officer of the British Empire. So I mean, how many awards do you want? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like he's got a fair few. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a bit flippant there, and I want him to have a knighthood. I really, really do. But it's just not happening for at least another 2 years. Simple as that. So let's get over it.
It is going to happen, though, isn't it?
Well, you think you've got to. 11 million is raised now.
Although, what was the stat that you came up? You found earlier is no British rugby league player ever been knighted. Was that right?
If that's what it says on Wikipedia. All right.
Oh, well.
Now there's some strange stuff on Wikipedia. So whatever you believe. Now, a little bit of digging, and I'm literally spent a few seconds kind of digging around there. Couldn't find anybody. So. Yeah, which seems.
I mean, does an MBE and OBE and all this not count? Is it got to be?
Well, no, the knighthood is like the top award, like
Sir Kevin Sinfield.
Yeah.
To be fair, it doesn't really matter because
we call him.
We all call him Sir Kevin Sinfield anyway. He's a man of the people, isn't he? He don't have to be a man of fucking royalty.
Well, I mean, the other thing as well is, do you think Kevin gives a shit?
No,
I don't think he does.
No, he's never been in it for a bloody knighthood. I'm pretty sure you would never hear him mention it. I'm sure he's grateful to have received the honours that he's received, but he's not in it for that. He's doing it because he's bloody lost his mate and He's just he doesn't want to see anybody else suffer.
Yeah, so to summarise this, two people are here in the studio. We want him to have a knighthood and to be recognised at the highest possible level, but it's just not happening for the next couple of years. So we see people every year, Kevin Sinfield Day, people at the darts showing placards, and it's brilliant. This big campaign that gets Rugby League in the news,
in the spotlight.
But it certainly ain't happening for a while. But hopefully it will in a couple of years. What will that be then? 2027, is it? Yeah, 2027 will become eligible, and we'll see it from there. What's your thoughts? Don't get me wrong, we haven't just poo-pooed it and said, you're silly. All right, moving on. So the Williams Weekly this week. So I found an interesting story. It kind of follows our trend of French Rugby League being a little bit vicious in places, right? And we picked up on this story.
I'm interested to see how you're going to phrase this one, actually.
All right, I want to phrase it as like some little...
How are you going to actually turn this into a Williams Weekly?
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, it's not really a question as much as like a bit of a statement and a bit of a pat on the back for Rugby League players, fans, Rugby League community. So some lad out in France, right, twatted the referee, right? I think might not be the technical thing.
Attacked is what he said online.
Well, yeah, he attacked him. By all accounts, he followed him back to the change rooms and all. So punched him in the face, followed him back to the change room. Absolutely unacceptable, right? And we know that. Out in France, it can be a little bit lawless at times. We know that.
We have heard that, yeah.
French correspondent Liam Duffy. So, anyway, if you haven't seen the story, basically it was an under-19s match between, let me read it out, Racing Club de Saint-Gaudens, which is my best French, and Limoux, right? And
you did that better than I would.
17-year-old lad punched the referee, followed him back to the chain room. We can only imagine that he's giving him crap all the way back, or the official, all the way back to the chain rooms, and for that received a 20-year ban, right? Now, I think the sanctions it ranges between a 4-month suspension all the way to a lifetime ban. Now, he's been given a 20-month ban. First of all...
20-year ban.
20-year ban, which is, it's going to take him probably beyond his playing years.
So it's a lifetime ban.
It's in essence a lifetime ban of playing. First of all, I just wanted to get your take on what you thought to the punishment, to the crime,
right? And
then we'll talk a little bit further about it.
Well, it's hard for us to talk too much about it until we don't know the full details, do we? But if he has attacked or punched a referee, certainly, especially as it's happened after the game, you kind of got to say he's deserved the punishment. I would say. I will play devil's advocate a little bit though. How old did you say he was? 19? 17. Right. So he's not even.
He's not an adult.
He's not even an adult, right, at this point. So he's never going to play rugby league ever again, pretty much. Maybe the sentence is a little bit harsh. He may regret it in years to come. He may show remorse. So yeah, I think maybe 20 years is a little bit harsh, but I completely understand it.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah,
and this is why I brought it up as a talking point.
And I suppose we don't know the full circumstances. No. That's why it's a bit difficult to.
This is why I was saying it's a weird one because we don't know the full context. Now, let's just zoom out a little bit and look at the context of what's gone on here.
Yeah.
It's assault.
Yeah.
He's assaulted someone, right? Now, I don't know what they might get a 6 month. Like if it's in the UK, it might be like a 6 month custodial sentence for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But after that 6 months, be expected just to be able to kind of obviously you've got a record and all that.
And all the rest of it.
You crack on. Now he's been given this thing where so it's neither severe enough, like in relation to assault, but then seems to me so therefore we go right. Okay, well, it's a rugby player. Then a 20-year ban, like that doesn't give him any way to reform himself.
No.
If it was a 10-year. That's a lengthy suspension, and he's certainly not going to reach the levels that he would have been expected to.
Yeah, I mean,
it gives him the opportunity to reform.
At 27 years old, he's not going to be the man he is at 17-year-old, is he? Yeah. So yeah, it seems excessively harsh. I think from the outside looking in.
So then you've got to say, well, okay, so an example perhaps. They've set an example, and I'm all for that. You know what I mean? You can't go punch an official. I don't think you can punch other players, really. It is assault, and because you've each got a different strip on, we accept it. We see it as a bit of biff, and that's fine. But it is kind of assault. It's a strange one. Now, my point for this, right? I don't know if been going around the boys a little bit, is that this is the only report I can remember of this severity, like where someone's punched a referee. Now, how many people play rugby league across the world, right?
Yeah.
And we don't hear this a great deal.
No.
So I think rugby league players, they deserve a pat on the back here, because you've got very, very violent people playing a very, very aggressive sport.
An emotional sport, yeah.
And they manage to hold back, be disciplined enough to, when some things don't go their way. I mean, I even think back to like at the amateur game. I don't remember many people getting like a lifetime ban. I seem to have a recollection of the last couple of years someone got one, but I can't remember what for. You don't hear a lot of it, do you?
No, I think I do think the referees are respected. Really, in all honesty, I know referees get a lot of stick from the sideline, from fans, might get a bit of verbal abuse, but like you said, they're very, very rarely anyone oversteps the mark like they have on this incident. So yeah, like you said, I think rugby league does have decent respect levels to referees. You'll never stop the abuse that they get on the sidelines. I think that's just. It'd be nice if it did, but it won't. It'll always happen. Look at football. If you look at how referees are treated in football compared to how they're treated in rugby league, it's absolutely appalling. I mean, just on the pitch, you've got examples of players giving the referee abuse left, right, and centre, chasing referees around. I mean, I've seen loads of videos from abroad where a referee,
Spanish league
referees are getting chased out the ground and stuff like that. It's just, I mean, didn't Pablo Escobar have a couple of referees
jobbed? Yeah, he did.
Done away because his team lost a football match. Imagine refereeing that game.
No pressure.
Yeah, so like I say, I think it's a one-off incident. It doesn't happen very much.
Yeah, and that's my point. It's like, credit to everybody that's involved in rugby league that we do have this level of discipline. They can't be, you've got in effect the hardest men, women, individuals across the world playing a really, I mean, I would like to think one of the most aggressive impact sports, collision sport, that there is. And we managed to keep a lid on it. Unlike the freaking, how can I say this in a PC way? Footballers, let's just say footballers. You know what I mean? Like prancing around and giving it the big one, like. Yeah, so I just wanted to give people a pat on the back, but then also discuss this idea of the sanctions that this guy's received. And I am big on like being able to reform, because I think people can, flash in the pan, bit of red mist come down or whatever. It's just
the governing bodies a bit of a pat on the back as well, really. They run respect the referee campaigns pretty much every year, don't they? There's, in one way or another, there's some sort of respect the referee campaign. I mean, it's always been part of rugby league. So I mean, I was brought up, you never touch a referee. It's just part and parcel of the game, isn't it? Okay, emotions might get high and language might be thrown around a bit, but yeah, to even think that something like that happened is just balmy, really.
Have you ever collided with a referee? I have.
I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. What did you do?
No, I literally just by accident collided with the.
Over the years. I know I've collected a couple of cards along the way.
More cards than Father Christmas. That's what I've heard. Okay, right, we're going to wrap up this episode. Karl, I always ask you, any final orders?
I'd like a bit of feedback on what people think. Obviously, you can see there's been a little bit of a change to the graphics, and we've thrown the new logo out there now. As the show sort of keeps expanding, I'd say we're in like a beta mode. So we're kind of evolving the show for 2025 at the minute. So, we're working on a few different ideas with graphics. And Craig, what have we got coming this year? What's our schedule this year?
God, where do I start? So
we're going to be whacking the videos out.
Yeah,
this year,
so like I said, we're going to change the publishing schedule a little bit. We'll always do our set of 6, record it on a Monday, publish it on a Tuesday.
That's on it every now and then as well. That's important to mention.
Yeah,
snipers, odd.
Monday there'll be the predictions, Super League predictions video, which is always very, very popular. The set of six interesting news stories will come out on the Tuesday, including the Snipers tips, or most weeks Snipers tips. Wednesday we have
a day
off, and then Thursday we'll bring out the team sheet. So we're going to go into the stats, the analytics of the big games that are coming up that week. That should be really interesting if you're into the data. You like, a bit of the John Wells, Phil Clark, dare I say that, stats and that kind of thing, then we'll be a lot more of that. Plus all, we will clip it up so it's very specific to individual teams. And we'll get on the road as well.
Yes, between Rochdale and Telford. I was just about to add in there, we are also going to be doing more videos reacting in real time to what's going to be happening. This studio, Urban Flux Studio, is our own studio. We're going to be spending a lot more time in here. So, who knows when there's going to be videos popping out. So if you subscribe to the channel, whenever we drop a new video, you get a little notification so you know that something new's coming out. And last thing, we're going to be doing a merchandise drop, the first one of this year. I think we're going to put some hoodies out. I know a few people have asked us about the hoodies that we wear. These are from our Midlands Nines tournament that we run last year. But we are going to be putting a dedicated Rugby League Outsiders merchandise drop out. And it will be limited numbers. So if you're interested, keep watching the show.
Okay, so until next week, take care.